And there you go, more veganism in 2019. Now let's head over to Eli for a look at what's next at 5.
Heather, a former highway patrol trooper turned teacher is in trouble again.
2 victims were identified, a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old.
New criminal charges just filed. What he's now accused of doing to one of the victims while on an out-of-town field trip. Plus more layoffs at the University of Oklahoma. Which jobs are now on the chopping block. And a car slams into a restaurant. The entire thing caught on camera. Tonight, what investigators are saying about the cause. It's right now at 5.
You're watching Oklahoma's News 4 at 5.
We begin at 5 with breaking news. A fire at Mustang Creek Elementary School near Southwest 15th and Sarah Road. Firefighters battling what may be an AC unit fire. Hazmat crews have also been called out to the scene.
School was not in session today because of the weather. We do have a news crew also headed that way, and of course we'll keep you posted on the developments there. More breaking news: an Oklahoma man who was one of the FBI's 15 most wanted is now in custody. U.S. Marshals arrested Luis Frias last night in Mexico after receiving a tip about his whereabouts. Now listen to this. Frias is accused of stabbing his ex-wife, former Blackwell police officer Jeanette Reyna, 41 times, the worst part, in front of her children back in 2013. Just horrible. Authorities say she had just filed a protective order days before her death. Frias is currently in Dallas, Texas, now awaiting extradition back to Oklahoma. A former high school teacher and OHP trooper is in even more hot water tonight.
Yeah, we first told you about him last Friday. Cameron Glad is accused of having inappropriate relationships with 2 of his students at Sweetwater High School. Today, we learned he's facing new charges. As News 4's Jacqueline Chappell tells us, the new allegations revolve around a field trip with one of the alleged victims.
Cameron Glad now has 2 other charges filed against him, this time here in Pottawatomie County, where he traveled with the Sweetwater track team to last year's regional track meet. Glad, a former Sweetwater High School teacher and coach, has now been charged with 2 felony counts of forcible sodomy in Pottawatomie County. He already has 8 charges filed against him in Beckham County.
The OSBI was requested on January 20th of this year to do an investigation by the Beckham County Sheriff's Office into allegations of an employee, a teacher at Sweetwater Schools in Beckham County.
In the new charges, court documents say Glad and the victim were in Shawnee at the regional track meet last April. Glad was assisting the other Sweetwater coaches at the meet. The team spent the night at the Comfort Inn Hotel, where Glad and the student allegedly engaged in sexual acts. In the affidavit, the victim said she went to Glad's hotel room at his request. She says the 2 then performed oral sex on each other before she went back to her own room at 4 in the morning. 8 other felony charges were filed against Glad last week in Beckham County, including sexual battery and rape by instrumentation.
2 victims were identified, a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, both of whom reported not only inappropriate and sexual conversations with this teacher, but also there was some physical touching, some rape that had occurred.
Glad isn't a stranger to law enforcement. He was an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper from 2014 to 2017 before he was injured on duty. Sweetwater Schools has confirmed Glad resigned from the district. They sent us this statement saying in part, "We expect a high standard of behavior from all staff and will not tolerate any abuse of power that could harm students. Rest assured, we will continue to be vigilant to ensure their safety." In Pottawatomie County, Jacqueline Chappell, Oklahoma's News 4.
And Jacqueline tells us that Glad was arrested last week in Beckham County, but he managed to bond out of jail on a $500,000 bond. An arrest warrant is expected to be issued for Glad out of Pottawatomie County. Also, we are continuing to bring you the latest on some breaking news. At least 2 suspects are now in custody after a search in Yukon this afternoon. Yukon police, along with Canadian County Sheriff's deputies, putting a clampdown on the busy area along Garth Brooks Boulevard, just south of Interstate 40. Authorities say the 2 suspects may have been involved in a larceny nearby at an Academy store. So far, their names have not been released.
Now to this developing story, the University of Oklahoma announces another round of layoffs this afternoon. 28 employees are affected this time. Most work at the university's IT department in Norman, as well as the landscaping department at OU's Health Sciences Center. This is the second round of layoffs announced by the university since November of last year. The job cuts are expected to save OU about $2 million.
Slick roads made metro streets look more like a demolition derby this morning. You saw it. Ice caused the pileup that you're seeing right now on the Broadway extension at Wilshire. Our own storm tracker, Mark Dillard, even stopped traffic while waiting for emergency crews to arrive. Fortunately, there were only minor injuries. It took crews about an hour to get everything cleaned up. Drivers quickly discovered roads and bridges were icy all across the metro area. The conditions finally started to improve after sunrise, but there were still some trouble spots, just like this one you're looking at now on Northwest 10th, just east of Morgan Road. Police say a driver spun out and flipped his truck on his way to work. Fortunately, he was wearing a seatbelt and he wasn't hurt.
The medical examiner has ruled the death of a young Oklahoma City boy as a homicide. 3-year-old Elias Day was rushed to the hospital Monday night after he was found unresponsive. Sadly, he didn't make it. Doctors say the little boy did show signs of abuse. Police later arrested Elias's father, Jesus Marquez. He faces charges for child abuse, but not for his son's death, because as of now, police say they haven't arrested anyone for the injuries which caused the little boy to die.
On Crime Watch, we are learning more about Oklahoma City's latest murder. Today, police identified the victim as Larry Ramsey Jr. Late Tuesday night, officers say they found his body in a field near Southwest 15th and Indiana. Authorities say that they have arrested Kenyatta Tucker. Police think the two got into a fight. That fight turned deadly. In addition to a murder charge, Tucker also faces a charge for having a gun after a felony conviction. Also tonight, an Oklahoma woman will stay in prison for conspiring to kill her ex-husband and then cut up his body. The Court of Criminal Appeals has upheld a life sentence for Amber Andrews. She was convicted for killing Brandon Duran in 2012. His body was found inside cement-filled buckets in a pond near Pauls Valley. Another man, 37-year-old Justin Hammer, also got a life sentence for the murder.
Security has been stepped up at the Capitol after last year's massive teacher walkout. House leaders have built guard stations in hallways. Public access to stairwells has been banned. There's also a former police officer who's licensed to carry a gun inside the Capitol. According to House Speaker Charles McCall, the new measures have nothing to do with the walkout. Instead, he says the changes are meant to improve the public's experience at the Capitol. Well, how many times has this happened to you? If you're like me, the answer is one too many. Now, this train is barely moving along right here, but for trains that stop completely, a high-ranking state lawmaker wants to put a stop to stalled trains at intersections. I shot this video in Edmond, and if you follow me on Facebook, you've probably seen my plethora of posts about getting stuck at the railroad tracks. Well, now, House Speaker Charles McCall has filed a bill that would fine railroad companies up to $10,000 if a train is stopped at an intersection for more than 10 minutes. McCall says not only is it annoying, it's also potentially life-threatening, especially if first responders get stuck at a crossing.
From the Sky Center tonight, President Trump is going after congressional Democrats as the House moves forward with several investigations. The president spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast this morning. Hours before his appearance, the president blasted Democrats on social media. He called them nuts. He also accused them of presidential harassment. All of this as the House Intelligence Committee opens investigations into the president's ties to Russia, along with his finances.
That just seems political to me.
We will not surrender our constitutional responsibility for oversight. That would make us delinquent in our duties.
Also today, the acting attorney general turned on his words. After agreeing to testify, Matthew Whitaker now says he will not appear before the Judiciary Committee on Friday unless the panel drops its threat to subpoena him. Whitaker says Democrats are trying to create a public spectacle. We turn now to Florida, where jaw-dropping security video shows us the exact moment that a car slammed into a crowded Florida restaurant this week. Take a look at this video you're about to see. You can see two women at the top of your screen, and when that car comes barreling through, there it is. Well, what a mess. Amazingly, they only suffered a few broken bones. 4 other people were hurt inside that restaurant. Investigators say it appears the crash was the result of a mechanical issue. And that's a look at the news from the Sky Center. Heather, back to you.
That was incredible video. Thanks, Eli. Well, it's something an Oklahoma dog rescue never saw coming.
We really believed that we would only see about 30 a year. We saw 30 in our first 3 months.
Oh, the latest influx. Look at that. That now has them scrambling to find forever homes for dozens of little baby bulldogs and what you can do right now to help them out. That's next.
We want to update you on some breaking news that we told you about at the top of the show. Firefighters now say a fire at Mustang Creek Elementary School is out. It was contained to a cooling tower, and there is no sign of damage to the school or the building itself.
And an Oklahoma dog rescue says it's in crisis mode right now. They're now scrambling to find new homes for dozens of bulldogs. They say they've never had this many at once.
And as News 4's Lacey Lett explains, all of this comes at a time when bulldogs are becoming more popular.
Slobbering, happy faces, all looking for a forever home.
About 51-ish, yeah, after we get all the puppies counted for and everything.
Tornado Alley Bulldog Rescue recently took in pregnant dog named Poppy.
We did an ultrasound with her. We saw 5 little bodies, and then 7 came out.
Puppies born earlier this week now being cared for by rescue co-founder Don Cortez. Surprisingly, this popular breed is often surrendered to the rescue by owners. It's something Stevie Easter never thought about when she, Don, and Amber Luttrell started their nonprofit 7 years ago.
We really believed that we would only see about 30 a year. We saw 30 in our first 3 months.
Since then, the number of rescued bulldogs has reached 550. And they're now seeing even more shelters than ever before.
But now we're pulling them out of shelters at the age of 2.
That is like the #1 thing we hear when we go to events is like, I can't believe there is a bulldog rescue, that people aren't loving them, but people get them because they're cute. I mean, it's a status thing for some people, and then they don't realize how much care these dogs need.
4-year-old English Bulldog Brody came in as a stray 2 years ago. Sadly, nobody claimed him. It's the same situation for Dottie, who came in as a stray from Tulsa. Now the Tornado Alley Bulldog Rescue is left footing the bill to care for these dogs.
People think that we make money off these dogs. We don't. We don't break even. We don't cover our expenses. So any donations that people are willing to give, we would be so appreciative of right now.
So now they're asking for the public's help in taking care of these lovable, gentle pets.
You will always know where they are because you'll always hear them in the background snorting and running.
Lacey Lett, Oklahoma's News 4.
The Tornado Alley Bulldog Rescue fosters all of their pets, and if you want to meet one, they are hosting an event on March 10th. It's going to be at the OSU OKC Farmers Market. If you want more information, head over to our website at k4.com. It was cold today, yeah? The question is, how long will it last?
We're in the deep freeze, Mike.
I think this might go as perhaps one of the more hideous 24-hour periods that we've seen in a while.
We've said that word hideous a lot lately.
We have.